and welcome to the part 2 of our Rare Hog, or our Characteristics of Life notes. And so if you remember last time we were here, we did the R-A-R-E, the first 4 characteristics of life, and now we're going to do the second, H-O-G-G, the last 4 characteristics of life. So let me scroll down to the H, and here we are. H is a big word, homeostasis, but it's a very important concept in biology. And so the idea of homeostasis, we have to maintain homeostasis. We have to keep our insides at a stable environment or in sort of a steady state, meaning we have to remain about the same temperature. We have to have about the same amount of salt in our body at all times. We have to have about the same pH in our body at all times. And so let's say that, and there's many, many ways that we maintain homeostasis. This is just 3 examples. So let's say that you eat a lemon and your pH goes down. Well, then your body's going to produce chemicals that's going to make your pH go back up. But then it's going to start to get too high, and then it's going to make chemicals to keep it for the pH to go back down. And then you're going to have salt. Let's say you have a very salty dinner. And so then your salt increases. And so your body's going to work to get rid of some of that salt. And then once it gets down to too little, it's going to start to make or stop getting rid of the salt so you can start to build it up again. And the same with temperature. If we think about this, if you step outside on a very cold day, let's say it's 0 degrees, your insides don't go to 0 degrees when you step outside without a jacket. You still remain at 98 degrees, 98.6, 98.7, somewhere around there. And but what you do is you start to shiver when you get cold. When your body temperature starts to drop, you shiver, and that warms you back up. So when your body temperature cools, your body warms itself back up. And then when you get really hot, you're going to start sweating, and that's going to cool you down. So there are a number of ways that we maintain homeostasis, because there's lots of stuff going on outside of our body, but we need to have kind of the same scenario, the same amount of salt, the same pH, the same temperature at all times in order to function correctly. And that's homeostasis. Organization. We are organized by cells. This is kind of a weird concept again. We are all living things. Oop, I'm in the way. All living things are made of cells. And so here we have a cell. And here I would draw a little arrow. So cells make up tissue. Tissue makes up organ. Organs make up organ systems. Organ systems make up an organism. And we know that an organism is a living thing. So all organisms are made by cells. But what does this mean? If you have a bunch of cells working together, let's say they're all different types, they're all skin cells, and they're working together to protect your insides and to keep the outside world from getting in, acting like skin, well, then you have skin tissue. And if you have a couple of different types of tissue, let's say you have muscle tissue, you have skin tissue, all working together towards a function of digestion, well, then you have an organ, and that organ is stomach. But this organ is part of a bigger picture. And that bigger picture is an organ system, the digestive system. So the organ, the stomach, is going to work with small intestines, large intestines, your esophagus, where the food goes down. And it's going to all work together to digest that food, and it's going to work as a digestive system. And you have many different types of systems in your body. And so an organism is going to have many organ systems. So you have an endocrine system, you have a digestive system, you have a skeletal system, you have a cardiovascular system. And so all of these systems work together to form a bigger picture, an organism. And so we are organized, and the basis of that organization is cells. All right, we've got 2 down and 2 to go. We're halfway there. The third is G, rare hog. So here's our first G, to grow and develop. So living things grow and develop. And understand that grow and develop are 2 different words. Grow means to get bigger, so the grass is going to get taller, it's going to get bigger. Oop, I'm in the way again. And to develop means to get more mature or to change shape. So a tadpole will change shape and become a frog over time. So not only does it get larger, it also matures. It changes shape. And so living things need to grow and develop. In order to grow and develop, we need to have more nutrients or more materials. And remember that materials are the elements from the periodic table. So we are made of elements, so we need more elements. All right, I'll stop babbling. And here we go. Rare hog g. Here is our last G, genetic material. Very important. All living things have genetic material. And for the scope of this class, are going to talk primarily about DNA. So living things have DNA. And we are all related because we all have the same genetic code. We don't all have the same set of DNA, but our genetics sort of speak the same language, all of life on Earth. But we'll talk more about that as time goes on. So those are the 8 characteristics of life. And remember that in order to be considered living, you need to have all of the characteristics of life. There are some potential exceptions, but we'll talk about that for homework later. I want you to think about some examples that might be confusing. What about if you pull an apple off of a tree? Is that apple still living? What about a seed? Is a seed still living? Is it living at all? Is it growing? Is it developing? Does it have metabolism? Is it eating? And think about those. What about a glass of water? Is a glass of water alive? It's part of you. If you drink a glass of water, is that water alive because it's part of something living? Think about those, and we will keep talking about this subject as we go along. Have a great day. I'll talk to you guys later.